Welcome to Girls Gone Hallmark, a Hallmark review podcast. I'm Megan, and I'm a longtime Hallmark movie fan.
I'm Wendy. I'm a former Hallmark hater.
We'd like to invite you to hang out with us when the show is over. Follow us on Instagram. We are Girls Gone Hallmark. We do have a second Instagram account, which is Megan and Wendy, which is Life Beyond Hallmark.
This is all new. Like, what is all this new stuff that you added here?
We're literally exactly our normal intro.
Okay. Hey, if you want to jump into our Facebook group, we have a booming Facebook community called Girls Gone Hallmark, and it's filled with like-minded, awesome people who know their stuff. So come give us a join.
And the Facebook group is directly responsible for today's episode because they are directly responsible for our signed, sealed, delivered summer series. And today is a very special episode because we are joined by two women who we've been gushing about for the past several weeks here on Girls Gone Hallmark. We have Kristin Booth, who is our girl Shane McInerney / O'Toole, and Yankee Crystal Lowe, Rita, Haywith / I'm gonna confess, because where we are in our watching, Rita and Norman are not married. We don't know if you become a doorman or if you stay Haywith.
Who wouldn't?
I tried to Google and I actually couldn't figure that out last night.
Who wouldn't want to become a doorman? I mean, have you seen it?
I mean, I love it. Rita Haywith Dorman. I guess we'll find out.
Yeah.
But thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you
thanks for having us.
All right. Obviously, we are here today because we have a brand new signed, sealed, delivered movie dropping very shortly. The fans are so excited. I think it's safe to say that the fans are in large part responsible for that. I've never seen a fandom on Hallmark like it.
Yeah, it's 100%.
And the timing is perfect. We started Signed, Sealed, Delivered Summer because the announcement of the two new movies came out. We had never seen a Signed, Sealed, Delivered movie. And there was some conversation back and forth about what should we do. And initially we tossed around the idea of like, do we just watch it in a vacuum? And people were like, please don't do that. Please, you need the backstory. And so the Signed, Sealed, Delivered Summer series was launched and we are all in. We kind of want to start from the beginning and hear about your journey to Signed, Sealed, Delivered, how you each landed your characters and your roles there.
Boothie, you want to go first?
Sure. I was lucky enough to work on a project called The Kennedys, which was with Muse, which is the production company that owns and produces Signed, Sealed. And I met our producer, Joel Rice, through that. And he and I got along really well, and he, thank goodness, seemed to like my work. And he brought me on to another Hallmark movie. I think actually other than Shifting Gears that I did with Crystal in the fall, it's the only other Hallmark movie I've done. And it was Banner 4th of July. I think actually it's maybe called something else now. It's had like 4 different titles, I think, since shooting it. So I did that, and it was like in North Bay, which is here in Ontario, where I'm based. And he said to me, would you ever consider relocating to Vancouver? And I was like, well, I love Vancouver. Why? And he sent me the script for Signed, Sealed, Delivered. At the time, it was called Dead Letters. And I did find out later on that Shane had just been rewritten as a woman, because prior to that, in other iterations, she was a man, or he was a man. So yeah, weird, right? You didn't know that? Yeah. No. Shane and Oliver were 2 men. And it wasn't a LGBTQ relationship. It was a business relationship. And I believe actually it was Hallmark that said, hey, you need to make this, or no, I think it was Muse actually that said we should make this a woman, and skew it more for Hallmark. So there you have it. And so I self-taped, which is like auditioning in a vacuum, basically. Yeah. And I did it 5 different times with notes from Joel. So, each time I sent him a new audition, he'd be like, yeah, no, you have to do this, and you have to bring more of this, and you have to do that, and this and that and the other thing. And finally, after 5, they were like, okay, we want to bring you into Los Angeles to meet Martha. And I met Martha coming out of the woman's restroom, and she was going in. And the two of us locked eyes, and I was like, you, and she was like, you.
Oh my
And
gosh.
yeah, that was it. She claims that she knew the moment she laid eyes on me in the restroom that I was Shane, but I beg to differ. I think it was after I had to audition for her.
After she heard you speak.
Yes.
How many other people were there testing? Was there other people there?
No, it was just me.
Oh, it was just you.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Oh.
I'm so curious about that. I've never asked you that.
Which felt both amazing and terrifying at the same time. Because you're kind of like, if I don't actually get this, it means I really effed it up. Like, because there's no one else here.
Right.
Like, this is mine to lose right now.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of pressure.
You almost have to think that they knew at that point, right? Like they just needed to confirm what they knew in that moment.
Well, according to Martha, that's the case, but who knows?
Also, with auditioning, guys, like you never know anything.
Yeah.
Like, so the one thing as an actor you learn is that like you could be like, this is it, and then they're like, nope, and then nobody calls you. Like it's such a weird job, right? Like there's no guarantee.
Now you have to tell your story because it's the perfect segue to you auditioning because it's a completely different experience. So
mine. Well, I did a self-tape first, and I remember showing my husband, and he was like, "Are you going to do it that way?" And I was like, "I don't know how else to do it. Like, this is not a role that I would ever read for. I thought it was the wrong sides." I called my agent and was like, "I think you sent me the wrong. Like, I'm not going to read for
project."
Yeah, I'm like, what? Because I was like a sci-fi horror film girl. So I was like, this is so weird. I've never played quirky. I've never, like, it's just a weird fit for me. And they were like, no, they want to see you. So I was like, okay. And then I got a call back and I was like, this is so weird. And I went in there. I was like, well, I'll just wear no makeup and put glasses on. And I sat in the waiting room laughing because girls were so stressed, you know, pacing. And I was like, I'm not going to book this job. I don't care. Like I had zero stress, which was probably, now I tell people when I teach acting, the best way to go in because you're not trying to impress anybody. You're just making a decision of what you're going to do. And that's it. And then I went in the room and it was Martha and Brandy Harkonnen were in there and the casting director. And then I did the read and Martha looked at me and I was like, what's happening? And she was like, oh, can you take your glasses off? And I said, yes. And she goes, oh, Hallmark will like this. And I said, okay. And then she said, I want you to go outside and I want you to, she gave me notes and I was like, okay. Now, if they give you notes in a casting room, that's a good sign. You know, it means they see something. You might not have nailed it yet, but they see something that they're interested in. I was like, this is so funny. Okay. And so I went in the hallway and I was like, weird. She like likes me. I did it and I came back. And she always said that it's the one line. The line was, I've never actually been in love before. You know, that line when I look at Norman and she said, you know, that she had heard that they had been looking for Rita for a really long time. I was the last character to be cast. I went in on a Monday and I had the offer by Wednesday morning. Wow. And it was to like shoot in like the next day.
Week.
Like, it was really close. And then I had also tested for another series called Helix, which is on the Sci-Fi, and I was up for that already. So I was like, I got the call from my agent and they were like, they want you to take this backdoor pilot, but it's not guaranteed to go to series. P.S. You're up for this series. You'd be number 2 on it. It is guaranteed to go 13 episodes, but it's not guaranteed that you're going to get it. So I was like, and I remember sitting in the coffee shop in Vancouver and Kitsilano being like, champagne problems, you know, but like, what do I do? I don't know what to do. And then I refused to answer the phone and my agent called me and was like, Martha wants to talk to you. And I said, no, because to me, I can't say no. First of all, I'm so Canadian, so I can never, I'll be like, and second of all, I don't know what I want yet. And I was like, no, she's like, no, she needs to talk to you. So she called me and we talked for a good, 45 minutes. And she asked about what I did, and I owned a restaurant at the time, and we talked about all this stuff. And she said, listen, I know you're up for something else, but if you take this role, I will write for you every day. She goes, or you could take a show where you're standing in front of a green screen, just screening at nothing. And I was like, well, I mean, who is going to say no to that? Like, no writer ever phones an actor and says, I will write for you every day. And so I took it, and that's how I got the job. But it was terrifying. And I will also say that, like, I think a couple of weeks prior, I love things that scare me. As soon as I feel comfortable, I'm like, next. I was sitting in front of Starbucks in Maple Ridge. I remember so clearly thinking, God, just give me a job that scares me every day. I don't want to do the same thing anymore. And then I got signed sealed, and I was like, what am I doing? I don't know what I'm doing. I mean, I really did think I was getting fired through the whole pilot. I just didn't know what I was doing at all. Like, not at all. I mean, there's one scene that I if you guys rewatch it, I could never hit my mark. And so Shane and Oliver are standing, and if you look through them, you'll see me and Jeff, and you'll see me just like get somehow shifted sideways. And it's because I wasn't on my mark, and Jeff just like slowly put his hand out and just like moved my body, and I was like, here I am. I was like, oh, they kept it. They didn't notice that Gigi and I were like totally messing around. It was crazy. Also, Jeff and I just got off a series like 6 months prior called Primeval New World, where we were series regulars on that. And that was the first series either of us had ever done in series regs. And
so you two knew each other?
Oh yeah. Everybody, all the postables already know this, but Jeff and I went to high school together.
Oh my God.
Yeah. We've known each other for years. We weren't close in high school, but he knew my ex-boyfriend, and they didn't like each other. And so there's like a whole history of like us knowing each other. And then when we both booked this job, we found out, no joke, that we lived across the street from each other as adults.
Oh, that's
didn't
wild.
know, because
Wild.
the transport came to pick me up, and I was like, "Are you here for me?" And they were like, "No, we're here for Jeff." And I was like, "What? Like, what do you mean you're here for Jeff? No, this is where I live."
You're like, you're in the wrong place.
And then he came out of his door, and we were like, "What? Do you live here?" He lived literally across the street. Neither of us knew. Isn't that crazy?
It's like it's meant to be.
It is. Yeah. Gigi and I are interconnected forever.
I love that. Well,
Totally.
obviously, the two of you are so close. I mean, you have so much obvious chemistry just talking to each other here. I love that you call Kristin Boothy. That's going to be my favorite thing I've ever heard.
Yeah.
I assume you two did not know each other going into this series. And can you talk about how like your personal relationship developed and how, your first impressions of each other?
Oh my God. I know. I mean, the Postals have heard this
They know
as
this story
well,
so many
but we always have a table read when we start a new project or a new script. And so we were all gathered in this room in the Sutton Place Hotel, one of the conference rooms. And I was seated, everyone was seated. Crystal was the last one to arrive. And I was sitting beside the director, Scott Smith, who I had also worked with previously. So I had a, previous relationship with him. So I kind of had a second hand, with him. And Crystal walked in. And you have to realize that in the script, Rita's description was, quirky, plump, glasses, awkward, not comfortable in her own skin, that type of description. And Crystal Lowe walked in this room with her hair blown out. So it was all like, long and blown out and like waves like cascading down her tight t-shirt with her and her gorgeous body,
And you're like, where's Rita?
she had tight jeans on and like fry cowboy boots, a leather jacket, and she walked full face of makeup, but like her, like right now, like classic makeup, not too much, but just like, hi, there's a model who just walked in the room. And she used to be a model. She was a swimsuit model for like years of her young life. So this swimsuit model walks in. I had just had a baby. Like I was feeling like, so like, oh no, like I'm not in the best shape I've been. And I'm the lead of this, female lead of this show. And Crystal walked in and my jaw literally hit the table. And I went to the director and I leaned in and I went, what is going on? And the director goes, it's okay. And then Crystal in her head said,
well, I was sitting across. Boothie didn't know, but I was like, I know. I don't know what I'm doing here either. Like, I saw her do it. She was like, what is happening? And I was like, I don't know. I don't know why I have this job. It's the weirdest job. And she's making me sound like some glamour model. I don't think I looked like that when I came in, but I'll let her describe me that way. But I just didn't know what I was like, I don't know what I'm doing here. And I don't know why Martha fought so hard for me. And I don't know how to do this. I don't even know. I could not for the life of me understand why I had this job. So it was an interesting meeting, but I will say this, like, it's really, especially I would say when we started the show, which is 10 years ago, and we all
11.
we're all women. Women have been pitted against each other for so long because there's so few seats at the table. This is my theory, right? There's like only been 3 seats at the table. So, we got to fight to the death to get your seat or keep your seat or be in the boys club so that we don't get ousted or, whatever that means so that we don't lose our position. And that has been going on for years and years. That was never the case with me and Boothie. She never did that. And also as a number 1 female lead, and I newbie coming in, because Kristin had already done way more big stuff than me. There's a power dynamic that could have gone really bad, and I'd experienced many times in previous shows, and I never got that from her. She never gave it to me once, and that's hard to do. It really is, because I've also been in now the other position, right, where there's like someone that comes in and you're like, okay, I don't feel as good in this moment. And so, when I just have my baby and have that to be as confident as she was in herself, to not have to make anyone surrounding her feel bad is something that very few people have. She just uplifted. You. That's true though. Like, I'm not just saying that.
I know. You've told me that before, and
yeah,
I appreciate
you uplifted and you encouraged, and like when Rita had her makeover episode, and I got to like be fancy. Boothie was like, "Hold on, I'm going to film the crew. This will be so fun. They've never seen you look like this. If you look like this, and that'd be fun." And like that's encouraging, and that is that made me feel like I could thrive in this space where I was like, I don't know what I'm doing here.
But I will say, I have to say that, that is like Crystal, what she talks about, and it's not just in our industry, but it is really prevalent in our industry, because everything is about, or not everything, but a lot is about physical appearances, right? It's glamorous, it's this, it's that. And, there is a lot of competition. And I will say that in my past, I have been in that position where I've like felt threatened and kind of like gotten my back up or what have you, because the thing about me is like, if you come to me and there's no like I want to fight you kind of energy or I'm going to take your place kind of energy, I'm like, oh my God, open arms, welcome, like let's just like love each other and support each other. But I'm better at it than I was. I'm better now. But back then, if I felt that energy come at me, I was like, oh hell no. And I would be like, the gloves are off. Like, you want to bring that at me? I will go toe to toe with you. Like I will guard my space. But Crystal never had that energy. She just, like, the moment we met, even though I was like, what the hell is happening? She never brought that. There was never that, like, I'm here and I'm going to take this spot or fight for a spot. That it just never ever occurred to either of us. It was really beautiful. And to this day, like, Crystal and I are like ride or die. Like, we have each other's back. And, I read a quote once about, something about, you want a friend who, when you're not in the room, is going to fight for you or is going to like you sing your praises. And I feel like Crystal and I have that. And it's just one of those things, like when I think about Signed, Sealed, Delivered, it's the first thing that I am grateful for is this female sisterhood and relationship that Crystal and I have. And I was there when her baby was born. Like I was the first person other than her husband to hold her newborn baby. And, I've cried on her shoulder so many times. and vice versa. Well, she doesn't cry as much as I do.
I was just going to say,
but she's getting better at that. But it's interesting because like, and Crystal will attest to this. Like we came into this, I'm kind of like, I'm an open book and you have my trust and you have my heart right away. Like, and it's yours to lose basically. Crystal, on the other hand, was more like, oh, hell no, you ain't getting in here. And I will like protect my heart and, my vulnerability as much as I possibly can. And I remember it was a conversation in my trailer and I looked at her and I was just like, you don't have to pretend with me and you can trust me. And like, I got your back. And from that moment on, I think that was like episode 3 or 4 of the series. From that moment on, like our relationship has just been this like ironclad sisterhood.
Yeah.
That's freaking awesome. Don't you think, Megan, that like translates on screen too? And
there's so many moments on screen where I'm like, oh, these people really love each other. And then I'm like, wait a minute. As much as I want to believe that, I also want to believe like they're incredible actors, right? Like they could make me believe anything. So like there's those moments, but it's so nice to know that it does extend off screen, right?
Our show is a living, breathing entity on its own. It's really weird. Like the last movie we just shot, I will say at the table read, I was like, this show is already alive. Like I'm the body that just shows up. But like if you were sitting in that room, we had this space in between us while we were kind of facing each other. It feels like the show just comes alive on its own. It's already, those characters are already meshed together and we are just here delivering it. It's also been 11 years, right? So like it's been a long time. And we're a family that drive each other nuts and we fight and we love and we, and it's not all roses by any means all the time, but we're a full family. We're just a family,
We're a dysfunctional family,
totally.
100%.
A real one. Yeah, we really are. It's like,
but the odd thing is about it is that we were from the get-go. Like that's the brilliance in Martha's casting of Signed, Sealed, Delivered. And people often say it's like lightning in a bottle because somehow, and I don't know how, if it was like a message from above for her, but somehow she just knew that these 4 people, these 4 actors, these 4 characters, and these people playing these characters is going to work on a level that is unlike most ensemble television shows or films. And it does.
Yeah.
Well, that's one of the comments that I have in my notes is that the show was strong out of the gate. I mean, you watched that pilot episode and knowing how many movies we had to come, I wasn't expecting that to be as strong as it was. I wasn't expecting to be all in after that first episode. And it is so good from the first moment. I think it's really special. I mean, it's the casting, it's the writing, it's the way all of it works together. Martha Williamson, we obviously have never spoken to her, but the way her brain has crafted all of these stories over time, and it doesn't get stale. My question for you is, you've been playing these characters for 11 years now. What is the best and worst part about having the opportunity to embody these characters for such a long period of time?
Well, the best part
Crystal?
for me was I got to really develop Rita and watch her grow. I mean, I really had no clue what was going to happen with Rita. And it took, after the pilot, Martha and I sat down together and she said, you're not who I thought when I wrote this, but I found you and I picked you and we're going to make this make sense for you. And so we sat together and both of us, after I watched the pilot, I was like, oh, I know what I need to do with her. I need to find that one word for me, which was innocent. And Martha was like, yeah, I was like, Rita is so innocent, like in every way, like for everything, even when she's mad at you, it's never going to come from a place that isn't that. And so just having that anchor word for me as an actor too, and as somebody to create this character, that helped me always go to that place. And then I knew how to deliver every line. And the best part about being in a show this long is that I've been able to develop and watch her grow because she's a little more bitey than she used to be in the beginning, for sure. She's a lot more confident than she used to be. She tells Norman, to stop doing things. And, totally. So I've gotten to grow with her. The worst part about it for so long, there isn't really a worst part. It's just that the actor in me always wants more growth, more deeper. do something brutal to her so she can grow, like that's just the actor. But this is not that genre either that I'm going to go deep, deep, deep like that. It's not, we're not on HBO. This is also, there's a tone in our show that has to stay consistent. And I get that. So but there isn't really the only other downside is that I literally am watching myself age on screen. I was like,
please.
For my whole life.
Stunning.
It's all documented. Great. Thank you so much. There's like, I'm not there. But the joy of that is that I'm like, oh, that's when I had my daughter. Oh, that's when I had my son.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I was so preggers in that. I've been pregnant so much in our shows. I was pregnant through 3 of the movies with Mila. I think we shot 3 movies while I was pregnant and different stages of my pregnancy with her. I was 9.5 months pregnant for the Valentine's one. So pregnant. In fact, I gave birth
from the heart.
Yeah, from the heart.
You guys need to go back and rewatch that.
Which you guys just talked about.
Was that
we did?
I was pregnant. I was so pregnant. My God, I was like, and they had me behind the desk. Oliver's like, as if Rita would ever see Oliver's desk.
And carrying that giant box of the decorations.
Yes. Go back and watch it. You will see that you never see Rita's stomach. Like something is in front of her throughout.
You weren't on roller skates in that episode.
I was super pregnant, and then I was pregnant with my son on the last movie we did.
Oh my God, you're right. You were pregnant during the vows we have made.
Yeah, I was like
right.
5 months or 6 months pregnant with Luke.
But you were also pregnant with Mila during the one with Christina Bianco who guest starred. Not One in a Million. American Dream. No, something Impossible Dreams. Impossible Dream.
That singing scene's amazing.
So there's a story, isn't it? So there's a story. Crystal, we're in the hotel in Victoria, and she's like, "Hey, come to my room. I want to show you something." And I was like, "Okay." No clue, like none at all. And she stands in front of me and she lifts her shirt up. She goes, "Look at my boobs."
I was like, "Are you going to tell them this story?" I mean, their pregnancy. They were amazing. I was like,
and I was like, okay, but you have to understand. Like, I was like, "Did you get a boob job?" And we've had these conversations. We have conversations about literally everything, and we've had these conversations where I'm like, "Crystal, you are so freaking beautiful. Please do not do anything to your body. You're so gorgeous." Blah blah blah. And so I was filled with this like rage of like, why did you do this and why didn't you listen to me? So she goes, "And look at this," and then she showed me her little bump, and I was like, oh. And I'm sobbing, I'm hugging her, and then of course like I had to feel her boobs and
the full range of emotion.
We are very close, you guys. We're like BFF.
I love it.
Yeah, but that was how I told them, and I hadn't told anyone else. I think at that point, I can't remember.
Only Maiko, I think, knew, or maybe your mom and sister. But I was like,
I was very cautious with that, and that comes again with being a woman in this industry and being terrified that you're going to get fired. And of course, Martha was so welcoming about it and amazing, and so was Joel. Actually, Joel was incredible about me being pregnant and really accommodated everything for me on every time we shot. But I was so scared.
But also, too, like, combined with that, because yes, there is a whole stigma of being pregnant in our industry, and it's getting better, but definitely, you're scared. You're like, "Oh my God, I'll never work again," or "I'm not going to lose a job," or what have you. But also as women, early stages of pregnancy, so many things can go wrong.
Yeah.
And we're it's this amazing combination of like elation and being terrified when you're in that stage, right? And so we have to protect ourselves in those moments. And so I think that's also something that you were dealing with. And I look back and I look at, I mean, this kind of like ties in your question about what's the best thing and what's the worst thing about being on something for so long. We have really been through it as people, not just as characters, but as people. In 11 years, when you think about where we started and where we are now. And I mean, you think about the pandemic and how much people changed and had to change and had to adapt during that. And you look at that and you sort of like put that context in being on a show like this for that long. Like, we've really evolved, I hope so, as people too. And our experiences, like, it's so funny because when we shot the pilot, I had a year-old baby, and Crystal was free as a bird as far as that went. And, I was in a very different place in my life than she was. And then when she was pregnant and having her child, I was able to be there and be like, yeah, this is really hard. Trying to juggle what you're doing right now, it sucks and it's hard. And I get it. And, not just that, but like divorces, and not between us, but like on our show, like people that have worked on our show for that long, cast and crew included, like people's lives don't stop when you're an actor or when you're on television or in film and television. Like we're not, I know everyone's like, oh, stars or what have you. And it's like, but we're really just people too. And so all the trials and tribulations that people go through in life, we do too. And we've all been there for each other through these times. And so I think actually, if I was really thinking about it, and I just realized this now, like, I think that's kind of my favorite thing about the fact that we've been on this show for so long, is the evolution through the trials and tribulations of life, and then also how that is reflected in the show. And that's one of the things that Martha does so brilliantly, and what I think makes the fans keep coming back and keep rewatching, is that they can see parts of their life reflected in these characters, because they're not perfect, they're flawed, they're quirky, they're weird, they're kind of like, outsiders in their own way, and you're kind of rooting for those outsiders all the time. And they've found this collective, this group of people that makes them feel like they belong and celebrates their individuality, which is like the key to this show, is celebrating who we each are and who these characters each are, unfiltered and, unencumbered, and just like who you are at your core. And I think it's so hard in our society to not, especially now with social media, when we start, like, that's crazy. When we started Signed, Sealed, Delivered, I think Twitter maybe had started.
Right.
Yeah.
But there was no Instagram.
No.
Facebook had started, yes. Like, but it was not like it is today. And you did not have the same pressures that exist today as far as social media goes. And, these characters were allowed to be weird.
Yeah.
And then they were celebrated for it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, we're so inundated today with like, conform. You got to be like everybody else, and you got to look like everybody else. And you got to, and if you don't, then you're failing, or you're not achieving what you should be, or what have you. And it's like, God, it's exhausting. So I think, and I'm literally thinking about this now, like when I think about people coming to watch the show, I'm like, God, it must just be this big breath of fresh air and this relief to come watch the show and see these people struggle with their own stuff, and also see people support them and love them regardless of it. And I think that is essentially why people are so drawn to the show, why you can watch it over and over and over and over again and find new things, new lessons, new themes, new adventures in each episode or film. And that is the brilliance of Martha Williamson. And then she blessed us and gave us these characters to explore. And the hardest thing about it for me is continuing to push the boundary of who Shane is. And, she's evolved so much from the pilot till now. And my fear as an actor is like, oh my God, is it going to get boring? Is Shane going to get boring? Because she's already been through XYZ. But again, the brilliance of Martha's writing, even if some things are repeated because it is a franchise and you want to keep a familiarity to it, the characters are really always evolving, and they're always struggling with something new or learning something new about themselves that they thought they'd already learned. And that's life. So I think she brilliantly reflects real life. That's what Martha does, and has given us the gift of being that vessel that is allowed to sort of like share that with the world and our audience.
That's so special. That makes me want to cry. I love it.
Wendy's not a crier.
Aww.
Wendy, my goal is to make you cry. Should we talk about
you have on the show, watching
Wendy?
the show?
Should we talk about how you didn't love Rita the most, Wendy? And now it's my mission forever to make you love Rita. Wendy, I'm coming to your house. I'm moving in.
Wait, I want to talk about that too, but
we're going to be best friends, and then you're going to feel so bad, and you're going to be like, Rita's my favorite.
Wait, can I say something about this? Because I think you were just talking about how like you had like hopes and dreams for like what Rita would become. Now, where we are, we just finished From the Heart. We're breaking for Christmas in July, and we'll finish the rest of the series in August. But one of the things that Wendy said is she wants more for Rita, like justice for Rita. Because where we are in the series, we have these really rich backstories. Shane and Oliver and Norman have these rich backstories. Yes. And they haven't given that to us for Rita. And the Postables have been in our emails and in our DMs, like, it's coming. We promise it's coming.
Right.
But I think that's where it comes from, right? Like, we want so much. They haven't given us. Rita is delightful on screen. But like we
Rita.
know there's more.
Yes, my favorite thing to do is to just make people sweat, and I don't mean. Okay. And so I'm going to bug you till we're dead. You know what I mean? I'm going to get a shirt for Wendy.
Yeah, no, Crystal is like
with just
she gets off on it. She loves.
She came
to make
around. I don't know if you heard the episode where she's like, "Don't come for my girl Rita." So
I love Rita. I just can't help myself.
I love Rita.
I think, to kind of like reflect on that and also go back to what you said, Crystal, it's like Rita is the character that most developed for Martha because she found Crystal. Sure. Because Martha had a whole other person in mind for Rita and who Rita was. And then she saw Crystal and was like, wait a second, this is Rita, but I don't know what that looks like yet.
Yeah.
And so I think the more Martha got to know Crystal and the four of us, but the more she got to know Crystal, the better she was able to develop the character of Rita and, really create a three-dimensional person as opposed to just sort of like the sweet one, the innocent one, the whatever. Yeah. But then trust me, it gets complex and it gets interesting for Rita. And Crystal is gorgeous in it. Like, she's just fabulous portraying this young woman. You were young at the time.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. The youngest person ever. What are you talking about?
You're still young. I'm just not. Crystal, what I love about Crystal playing Rita is that she's so authentically naive and innocent. And it's so funny when you know Crystal, like in real life, because she's not naive and innocent. But there actually is like this little part of Crystal that is, and she hides it. She tries to like keep it to herself. And it was also like through our relationship too, where I was like, wait a second, there's another person here she's not letting me see this. And that was that moment where I was like, you can trust me. Mm-hmm. And so Crystal found, and this is what, when I coach actors, this is what I say to them is I'm like, it should never, when you approach a character, you should never be looking outside of yourself to create this character. You have to find, even if it's the tiniest little part and like molecule in your body of a serial killer, you got to find that molecule of serial killer, that moment that in your head when you see red and rage and, evil comes up in you, but there's something in you that goes, no, I'm not going to do that because I am a good person and I also know that's wrong. But we all have emotions that scare us.
Yeah.
Like, and if you say you don't, you're lying.
Mm.
So what I say is find that within yourself and magnify it.
Mm.
Right? So dim everything else while you're creating this character. Magnify that little molecule, and you will find truth and authenticity in every freaking character that you try to create and approach. And that is what Crystal has done with Rita. Is Crystal dug deep down inside and found her inner child and said, that's who Rita is. I'm going to magnify that joy, that like innocence, that beauty of looking at life and looking at people with like just love and acceptance. And boom, there she was born.
I also love how me bugging Wendy turned into you guys all talking about how great I am. This was the best.
Oh, that's the other
Part of your master plan.
It is. That's the other thing Crystal will
like,
do.
Wendy, you said bad things. Now you have to tell me how amazing I am for the next 20 minutes.
It's true. And that's the other thing, Crystal. That's her like stealth ninja coming through because she's just like, I want to be complimented.
Yes, tell me again how great I am. Now you have to love me forever. But I am, Wendy, going to get a shirt that has just my face on it, and I'm going to send it directly to you. And it's just going to be like,
Okay, I'm going to wear it on the Hallmark Christmas cruise.
I am.
God, that would be amazing.
Oh,
I get a
can
photo.
we talk about the Hallmark Christmas cruise? Because I overheard you guys on one of your podcasts being like, why aren't the Postables invited on the Christmas cruise?
I hope you are.
I agree. No. Haven't heard a word.
Wendy started an online petition, by the way.
I know. I heard it only has 3 signatures.
It has 4 now.
Wait, it was just me and Boothie. It was just us signing it. We were like,
And Wendy and I.
yes. Hilarious.
I want to bring it back to the new movie because I know everybody's so excited.
Oh, yeah. We haven't talked about that.
The majority of the original pre-comeback series was directed by Kevin Fair, and now we have a new director. Talk about that experience. Did that change things? Did that spice things up? How did you feel about that? I love that we've got a female director.
Well, LL did the last one,
LL?
too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
He did Vows.
To the Vows. So this is her second. I thought Kevin did a fantastic job of our show. Our show always looked good under his direction. It was always moving and beautiful. But I mean, LL is our girl. I am very happy. I also think Kevin's just busy. I don't think there was no big dramatic effect.
You're out. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I don't think it was that.
No.
I think Kevin's working all the time. He's still working on Hallmarks. He's doing the 2 ghosts in a bath, I think, or there's another one that he's doing. So everybody's just busy. 2 ghosts in a, oh my God, I should get not a bath.
3 bed.
3 bed, 2 bath, 1 ghost.
Something like that.
Okay.
Yes.
I was like, ghost
Not
in
too
a
bad.
bath?
Two
That's
ghosts
an
in a bath.
interesting concept.
I should be like, are you?
That was a
joking?
great movie, by the way.
Show. I have loved having LL, and she was in the Make Her Mark program for the movie that I directed. She ended up becoming my mentor while I was shooting, and so she's mentored me. I'll tell you the funniest thing, because we spent so much time together in Ottawa as her as my mentor and as Crystal, even though she had worked with me as Rita before. When I came out as Rita for this and started doing this movie, she was like, "This is so weird," and I was like, "It's so weird watching you as Rita again." And I was like, "Oh, really? You worked with me already?" She's like, "I know, but it's so different." She goes, "I know you so well now as a director and who I am. It's just like to see you just like pop back into Rita and like your voice go up and do all this. It's like the
Your
weirdest."
voice, yeah.
She's like the first 3 days, she just kept going and like looking at me, and I was like, "What? Stop. I need to focus on this." It was fun. What
I love about LL and her, what she brings to the franchise is this beautiful positivity and focus on beauty. Like she is always like, "Oh, what would be pretty is if we did," like she has a way of looking at life through rose-colored glasses in a way,
Yes.
and it's not in a negative way at all. It's actually quite stunning, and a vulnerability that exists within her, and what her vision is as a result of that. And I think what she's been able to bring to our characters, and I think you'll definitely see that in this new movie coming up, The Tale of Three Letters, is even more vulnerability amongst the cast, the characters, and a space that these characters can really feel safe in. I think, Eric's work in this last movie is unreal. Like, he went to places that I don't think we've seen Oliver go to quite yet. And I think that is a large part of, LL's direction and just creating this space that is really, really open and non-judgmental. Not that other people did. It's just, there's just something, an energy about Linda Lisa that is like, I don't know. She's awesome.
Yeah,
She's like this angel. She looks like an angel. She's got like bleach blonde, long hair and this sparkly blue eyes. And she dresses like a boho goddess. And she has a slight British, slight Australian accent, which comes out at weird points and times. And then, but she's also like so good at her job, so hardcore, like awesome. She was a script supervisor for like 30 years before she became a director. And she is a woman in a boy's world, and she is a
It's okay. It's okay. We have an explicit rating. Also,
Okay,
I'm a
great.
good editor.
She's a powerhouse. She's a powerhouse, and she knows what she wants. But you never ever feel strong armed by her. You never ever feel like she's like, I'm just a suggestion. Maybe you want to try this, and maybe you want to go. But not if you don't feel comfortable. It's okay. Like there's just this beautiful vulnerability about her that allows you to go to a very vulnerable place, and and then she also just has this like wonderful eye for beauty. And so I feel like a lot of the shots, a lot of the aesthetic of the show is even more beautiful than it was before. So
Yeah, I'm excited.
Oh, I can't wait. One more big question. We see you guys are both working together on an upcoming project, thanks to IMDb. You're making faces like we're wrong. Are you not working on a project called Capacity?
Oh, yes,
Capacity, yes. I was like, which project? Like, honestly, Boothie and I have been doing a lot in the last little while. You know what I mean? Like,
behind the scenes.
That's not public.
Like, oh no, what do you guys know?
and there's also just like so much going on that we're like, wait, what's out there right now? But Capacity.
Oh no.
That's
I
exciting.
honestly, I was sitting here thinking, please don't because you guys would be too good together. And look at that face. That's what they're doing. That's what they're doing.
But
I knew it.
there is so much but there's also like other things in the works. I'm gearing up to do something really cool that I don't think I can say yet. I don't think it's been announced, but I'm like gearing up to do it very, very shortly. Also, Boothie and I have been like working endlessly on multiple different things. So that's why when you said that, I was like, which one is she talking about?
What do we know?
Crystal and I want to create together.
Mm-hmm.
We want to become Ben Affleck and Matt Damon. Like,
oh yeah. Yes.
For lack of a better team. I mean, let's do Reese Witherspoon and Nicole Kidman.
Yeah, because
that's
I
a better
don't
one.
want to be in the press like Ben Affleck. Thank you. No thanks.
But we love each other so much, but we also really love what we do. We're both really super passionate about what we do, and we also want to create content that matters and that we want to be a part of. So therefore, hopefully, is something that people would come to. But it's rough, man. It is hard to get things going, even when you have a 30-year career behind you, which Crystal and I both have. So we are actively working on projects together. Capacity is a short film that my husband and I directed that Crystal came in and helped produce at a time where I really was desperate and needed help. I'd been trying to get the short film made forever, and then my producer dropped out unexpectedly at the last minute. And I was also going through a terrible depression when I was trying to get this thing done. I suffer from anxiety and depression. I'm very open about that. And I called Crystal, and this is the relationship we have. I called Crystal sobbing, going, I think I can't handle this. I don't know what to do. I lost my producer. It's never going to happen. I may as well just give up. And Crystal's like, nope. And, she pulled me out of the quicksand and said, I'm going to help you and everything's going to be okay. And you're going to be good and you're going to get this done. And so, that's what capacity is. And that's almost finished. We're in post-production. And that wouldn't be the case if Crystal hadn't done that. I don't think. Like we are each other's freaking lifeline so many times. And so again, like being able to work, our dream is to work and create together and make projects that not only that we believe in and that we feel are important or that will bring joy to people within their living rooms or theaters. We want to support women and each other and create more space for more women and more female stories. And so that's our goal.
Yeah, it is. It really, and it was the same. Boothie did the same for me when I was doing Shifting Gears. That was a lot. It was a lot. It was so much for my first movie. In many different ways, my first movie, but also, I had a show within a show. There was as a director, it was not the easiest movie to be given. And I luckily was able to get Boothie in that movie. Thank God, because she was, my safety blanket. And it was so funny because Joel had helped me by getting me an assistant who was so funny and so lovely. Her name was CJ. But what I really needed was Kristin being like, did you drink your water? And she would shove water in my face and I was like, no.
Have you had any protein today?
And she would shove nuts in the thing and I would just be eating and CJ's like, how are you doing that? I was like, oh, it's a friendship that goes way back. Like she can yell at me because I haven't drank water and I need it. I desperately need it. And I am about to embark on another adventure for a little while. And I actually just messaged Boothie literally 2 days ago. And I was like, how am I going to do this without my safety blanket? You're not there. And I don't know what to do. And she was like, you'll be fine. And I was like, ugh. But
also, what did I say? I say I may not be there in person, but I am a phone call away.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was just thinking the same thing. I'm like, she is there. She's going to be right there for you. That's
just
so
such
awesome.
Having a person that you can do that with. And off of Shifting Gears, I gained a group of people that I really love and admire that I can reach out to. And that's something that's so special, honestly. And out of Signed Sealed, Boothie and I left the party together. We're going to leave the party together till we're dead. We'll be 80. I'll be Rita being like, and then I'll be leaving, because this show will never end. I honestly believe that. Signed Sealed.
Let's say 100. 80's pretty young these days.
It has been so delightful speaking to you, and I want to honor your time. But before we wrap up, let everybody know, obviously they can find you on Friday, July 12th in the brand new Signed, Sealed, Delivered on Hallmark Mystery. But where can people find you when the podcast is over?
Official Crystal Lowe. I'm on Instagram at official Crystal Lowe. I don't have a blue check mark because somebody hacked into my account and deleted the entire account. And then I had to restart it a couple years ago. But that is me, just in case people are wondering.
And I'm Kristin with 2 I's, KRISTINT for Tara Booth. Kristin T. Booth on Instagram and Twitter, although since Twitter became X, I kind of don't use it anymore. And I'm not on Facebook. Usually Instagram's the best way to connect and see what's happening, all the new things that are developing.
And for the next movie, just to quickly tell you guys this, because I know people are really curious about it, Rhiannon Fish is back, and we have a lovely stuff going on with that character with Charlie, so you're going to see some new things within the show about that. And I would say, you're going to see some really beautiful stuff with Shane and Oliver. Really interesting stuff with Shane and Oliver, and Norman and Rita. So just check it out. There's so much growth that happens in different ways in this next movie. And it's going to be an adventure just watching us solve another letter And I think you're going to people really attach to this letter because everybody makes big
3
mistakes. Yeah, but
there's 3 of them.
But the
There's
one that
3 letters, guys.
There's 3, that's true.
You didn't figure it out
That's
from
true.
the title.
That's how we keep it fresh.
But the
Not
one that I'm
one.
thinking about, I'll say thematically, everybody makes big mistakes, and there's always a time to correct those at some time in your life. There's always a time for second chances, and I think that you will really like that journey through this movie.
Awesome.
Oh, we can't wait.
Can't wait.
We can't wait.
Good.
Thank you so much for being here and for doing this with us. Truly such a highlight.
Oh, thank you.
And thank you for listening to this episode on Girls Gone Hallmark. If you love this podcast, we love your 5-star ratings and reviews. And we'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye.